It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is What Made the Cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Trajan Wealth brings you this portion of the program, TRAJANwealth.com, for all your trusted local needs in retirement, TrajanWealth.com. Jason Scheer, he covers Arizona for Wildcat Authority. Jason, thanks for being on the program again, man.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So we were chatting with Coach Brent Brennan and Noah Fafita at Big 12 Media Days, and there was part of us that went, oh, these guys, man. We might be looking at Brent Brennan not figuring this thing out and losing that job very soon after he took it. And I like Brent Brennan, man. I think he's a great coach. And sure enough, great coaches do what he's doing, which is they've turned things right back around again. What's been the biggest key for them to go to that 4-1? It took them a minute to get to those 4 wins last year. Is Arizona back to that form that we saw a couple years ago with Noah Fafita taking over that conference?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll find out a lot this weekend. The schedule's been pretty easy to start the season, but basically last season didn't go well at all, and Brent Brennan acknowledged that, and every coordinator was changed out. So I think a lot of the success is just kind of a change in coaching staff, and the offensive and defense coordinator have completely changed the approach from last season, and I think we're seeing the benefits early on in the season.
One of the things that Arizona's doing right now is playing good defense, top 10 in the nation in total defense. I'm not going to say the Desert Swarm is back or Desert Swarm 2 or anything like that, but I don't think anybody expected Arizona's defense to be playing this well. You mentioned the schedule. It's been a little light, but what are your thoughts on the defense and how well they've played so far this season?
Yeah, that to me is the biggest surprise with Arizona this season. I mean, Danny Gonzalez is the defensive coordinator, and he came in and he basically said, we're switching the approach completely. They're a lot more aggressive. It's a lot more man-to-man. It's different disguising looks, different formations, and it's been very, very successful. A lot of that, too, is they hit on transfers, which isn't easy to do. A lot of times, you get transfers and they're not contributors, but a lot of these transfers that Arizona got have been contributing at a high level. But to me, a lot of it is coaching. It really is. And I know you have to have talent, but just the different stuff that Danny Gonzalez has asked this defense to do, and they've done effectively. Last year was very simple, kind of easy to figure out. This year, it's a complete opposite.
When you look at what success means for this Arizona team, if Fafita is going, then that's a really, really good thing for them. What were the challenges he faced last year? I think everybody had all these expectations, and then they don't meet them. What did he learn in the offseason about himself that's gotten to the point now where he's maybe feeling a little bit more confident?
I think the offense in general was just kind of broken last year. Noah Fafita spent his entire football life with Tetsuroa McMillan as one of his wide receivers, which is a nice thing to have. And even last year, there wasn't any wide receiver talent surrounding T-Mac, but it's still in Noah's head. T-Mac was the number one guy, and I think at times he actually threw the ball too much to him. But beyond that, there just wasn't an offensive plan. This year, there is no T-Mac, and there really is no number one wide receiver. There's a bunch of receivers that have similar numbers, and in a way, I think it's helped Noah a little bit. But, I think the biggest thing is they brought in Seth Dagey as offensive coordinator. He played quarterback. He has experience with quarterbacks. Last year they had Dino Babers. They got rid of Babers 3 games of the season. They hired Matt Atkins or promoted him. Neither guy had worked with quarterbacks. And so the only guy that worked directly with Noah was an analyst who this year, and I love Lyle Moiva, he's a great dude, but this year he's a running backs coach. So it's a situation where he didn't really have that coaching last year. Under Jed Fish was basically the quarterback's coach, and then they had the OC was also a quarterback's coach. So I think it also helps that this season he has Seth Dagey, where the OC is also the quarterback's coach and works really closely with them, and they've been able to build a relationship and trust each other, and I think you're seeing the positive effects on the field.
How about the run game? Looks like Ismail Mahdi's been standing out, 382 yards and a touchdown this year, but it looks like there's several guys on that offense that have found the end zone with the ball.
Yeah, I mean, Monty's number one. He started the season as the number 2 running back, and Kedrick Risano, who's won played against Hawaii, and then he has turf toe. So he's been out for a while. They tried to give it a go against Oklahoma State. He only got 2 carries and then left the game. He'll be available this weekend. What that looks like, we don't really know. It could be 2 carries again. It could be 10. But either way, Monty's earned the number 1 spot. At Texas State, he put up some impressive numbers. You always wonder if that's going to carry over at a higher level. And he's done really well. He'll only be as good as the offensive line. He struggled against Oklahoma State because there were some injuries on the offensive line, and they had to move things around. But he's also had some really good games this season as well. But I like him a lot. He runs really hard. He catches the ball out of the backfield. He's a good blocker. He's a complete back and someone that's been really good for Arizona this season so far.
What you've seen from BYU so far this year, I think a lot of what Arizona fans are probably thinking too is what BYU fans are right now, which is, looking better, looking good, looking, kind of exceeding some expectations. But, the schedule tightens up a lot more this weekend. And so what have you seen out of BYU that Arizona is looking at and going, well, this could be an issue here?
I think with BYU, they don't make a ton of mistakes. That's kind of been the theme, is they're very physical, and they don't make a ton of mistakes. So Arizona has been really preaching taking care of the ball and not giving BYU extra possessions. And then really, kind of meeting the challenge. And, BYU is a team that they're physical. They're not going to get rattled too much. They've got experience, at running back and on the edges. The defense is very good. So, you take a look at BYU, and, similar to Arizona, you can say, well, they haven't played anyone, but they've beaten who they've played. So that's all you can do as a team. And so you beat who's in front of you. They've done just that. And Arizona has a ton of respect for BYU coming in here.
What is the vibe around the fans when it comes to BYU? How excited are people about BYU coming to Tucson? It's a ranked team to start with, but obviously they go way back. There's a long history there. But do the fans get excited for this game?
Yeah, I think they do. And I think part of it is, with the move to the Big 12, Arizona fans, we know about Colorado and Utah and ASU, but the one other Big 12 team that there's familiarity with is BYU, because Arizona was playing them at a decent clip before they even joined the Big 12. So there's some familiarity there. I think Arizona fans also know how the last 4 matchups have gone, so there's also some skepticism. But it's a fun, matchup overall. I think Arizona fans think highly of the BYU program, and they know that this is a pretty big game this weekend.
Brent Brennan is a guy who knows Kalani Sitake pretty well. How much did you guys talk about that relationship while they were at Oregon State, at least for a short time together? I know that they have a lot of respect for one another.
Yeah, Brent loves Kalani, and he basically told the story that they would have the kids over, families, and have dinner together, and they play dates and stuff like that. There's a ton of respect, and Brent knows that BYU is going to be ready to play, but. Brent will be very honest with things. When he doesn't know a coach, he'll say so instead of kind of BSing and say, "Oh, I love that guy." So he has a
we see each other at the Nike. We see each other at the Nike conferences. We're great friends. You're like, yeah, right, dude. Come on.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, right. And it's like, give me a break. Like, you could tell Brent loves Kalani. Like, that is a very genuine relationship between the two.
As you're looking at this game, I'm sure you're breaking down the different matchups and their offensive line against the defensive line. Where do you see is the key here? What's that one matchup in this game you're looking at that could be the difference?
The one thing that I think I would be concerned about if I was an Arizona fan, but at the same time, if you contain it, is Bear Bachmeier's run game. To me, there's been a few plays. Arizona did really well against Avery Johnson with the run game. Even though they beat Weber State's quarterback had like a 40-yard run. Where it's if you let Bear Bachmeier do a 40-yard run, it's going to be very different than Jackson Gilkey at Weber State. And so to me, that is probably one of the most intriguing things. Last year, I know it was a different defensive coordinator and all that, but Arizona got absolutely killed by the quarterback run game all season. If Bear Bachmeier is able to get on the edges and run, Arizona is going to probably be a long day, even if that defense has played better this season.
One of the things that we've looked at with this game and the mashup and how important it is to be able to get a win for both of these teams. I mean, you're talking about a very, very tight race in this Big 12. What can Arizona accomplish this weekend with a win over BYU?
I would say that BYU Arizona's schedule gets a lot more difficult. But by beating a team like BYU, all of a sudden it starts to get a little bit more real about Arizona's improvement. They go to Houston the week after, but they miss Utah. They miss Texas Tech. Some of their harder games are at home this season, so they have Baylor at home. They have Kansas at home. So it starts to get there starts to get a little growing intrigue. I'm not saying Arizona's going to go and win the Big 12 if they beat BYU, but all of a sudden there's a little bit more intrigue, and you start to say, okay, maybe Arizona's a little bit more for real than we thought they would. Personally, I think that this is the biggest home game of the Brent Brennan era. Like, this is going to tell us a lot. They went to Iowa State a few weeks ago. They got blown out. This is a very big game, I think, for the fans and for the program. If BYU runs over Arizona, I think it's a major hit to Brent Brennan and the fan base and all that. If this game's close or if Arizona wins, I think things have kind of turned around in terms of public image or what Arizona football really is this season.
Well, we love this matchup. We like these teams playing each other every year. It doesn't happen every year, weirdly enough. Utah and BYU splitting against Arizona State and Arizona this year, and it's just one of those that I think that everybody looks at and goes, why are they not playing this thing every year? Is that talked about in Arizona too? Like, no, you got to play BYU and Utah every season.
It's not something that's like Arizona doesn't play Utah this year, like you mentioned. I don't know if it's talked about every year, but I think people realize it just makes sense. Like, when you look at it regionally, it just makes sense. And to me personally, hope I don't get in trouble with this for Utah fans, I'd rather play BYU. I like the close games for the most part. I like, the fan base and all that. I have more fun in that situation, but I get it. I just think that, regionally it makes sense to play them every year.
Well, Jason Scheer, he covers the Arizona Wildcats for Wildcat Authority. Jason, thanks for being on with us. It seems like we do this every year, so let's just keep this thing going. If it only ends up being that Arizona and Utah end up having to face off again next year, we'll see how this thing goes, but we're looking forward to chatting with you again, man.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
There you go. Jason Scheer, everybody.